Good evening, everyone. Tonight we are going to change the thermostat, upper radiator hose, and water outlet neck on the F350.
Hello, and welcome to our channel. We're glad you're here.
Okay, I'm hoping you can see that water neck there, how it's got the like dried antifreeze crust all over it. If the truck's warmed up and running, there's usually a little bit of wet antifreeze down there. I'm not sure if it's coming out of the hose or if there's a problem with that water neck, but from research I've found that water neck design is kind of a weak design. They actually make a like a stiffener plate that goes in under the bolts because it's just a stamped steel. So what I bought, it's not too dark to see this, I bought a billet aluminum water neck from Riff Raff Diesel. It came with new bolts as well. And even though I don't have an issue with the thermostat, I went ahead and ordered a new thermostat to go with it. And then my upper radiator hose, as you can see, the original hose runs through the belt. I purchased the other hose style, which I believe is for dual alternators, and it runs through this little pocket right here and will actually go behind the belt, so you don't have to pull the radiator hose out if you ever have to change your belt. This is kind of a poor design for Ford to have done it this way. But right now I've got coolant draining out of the radiator. Going to drain this down and hopefully not lose a whole lot when I pull that upper neck. And we'll get this stuff changed. I've drained probably 2.5, maybe 3 gallons of coolant out of this and removed the hose from up there, from the radiator down to the water neck. Now we will remove these 3 10mm head bolts. So far they're all turning, which is a good thing, obviously. Those 2 are pretty loose. This front one feels a little tight. Sorry about the light there. Yep, I think I'm going to put the camera down and nurse this one back and forth because this feels pretty tight, and the last thing I want to do is snap a bolt off in that aluminum. What's the last thing I want to do? Snap that bolt off. Turns out the last thing I want to do tonight is put a water pump on because I snapped that bolt off. Yeah, I hope you can see that. Right there is the snapped off bolt. I've tried to get it out. It's really difficult to get anything on it because it's tight down in there. I got some vice grips on it. It just wants to peel the outside layer off the stud. Tried heating it a little bit. I've tried putting some penetrant on it, and it's not budging. So I went to the parts store and got a water pump because that is part of the water pump. So I guess this video now is going to be changing a thermostat, upper radiator hose, water outlet neck, and water pump. So first thing I'll need to do is remove the fan clutch. I rented the tool for that since I don't have one. And then the pulley, and we will pick it up from there. Because I got to kind of poke around and see what I need to do. So I'll get that fan clutch and pulley off of there. Okay, I've got the fan clutch off and the pulley. The lower hose is off here. The heater hose is off up here, and the coolant sensor is unplugged. Now it looks like there are 9 10mm head bolts that go around this water pump that hold it on. So I will get those 9 bolts off, and then once it's off, this heater pipe will need to be removed from this water pump and put on the new one. So let me get these 9 bolts off and get the water pump out of here. Alright, water pump is out. Most of the bolts are the same length. The one in this corner is medium length, and these three here are long length. So these three are different. This is a short one, this is a short one, this one, and this one are all short, same length. This one's a longer bolt, but these three here are the longest. So now we need to get the coolant sensor out, which is a 3/4 inch wrench, and this water neck out, which is a 1-inch wrench. So I'm sure I can't do that one-handed. I'll have to turn the camera off, but I'll put the 1-inch wrench on here, knock this out, put the 3/4 on the, that's 11/16, 3/4 on the coolant sensor and get it out. I did buy a coolant sensor just to be safe, since I broke this bolt off in here. I don't know if that's going to come out or not. So we'll try to get that out, and we'll get this pipe out and get those installed in the new water pump. Well, they both came out okay. There's the pipe. There is a new O-ring in the box, so I'll have to pick this O-ring off of here, put the new O-ring on, and it will install here in the new pump. Coolant sensor came out, but the looks of it, I may go ahead and use the new one just to be safe. Since, I mean, this one works. Theoretically, I could put it back in and it'd be okay, but while I got it out, I'll think about it. The outlet, or the inlet from that goes from the lower radiator hose into the water pump, it comes with a new, feels like a cast iron elbow. There was an O-ring for that that's in there, so I'll need to tighten these two bolts up yet. The thermostat will go in here. Thermostat has its own O-ring, but this also came with a square O-ring for up here. And we'll get this put back in. So, and there, of course, there's a new gasket for the back of the water pump. So we'll get the O-ring changed on this pipe, get it installed, make a decision on the coolant sensor, get this new seal in. We'll wipe the block off. I really didn't look in there after I pulled it out. Yeah, we'll get the front of that block wiped off, so we have a good clean sealing surface, and get the water pump dropped in here and get the bolts back in it. Now the front of the block's all clean and prepped for the new water pump to go in. And the new water pump is prepped and ready to go in. Got the heater hose pipe in it, and I went ahead and used the old sensor. It had these three like tabs on the outside of the sensor for the plug to only fit this particular sensor, and the new one does not have those tabs, so I'm not 100% sure it's the correct sensor, because she said there was several listings for it. So we will get this new water pump down in the truck. I'm reusing these spring clamps. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, probably not. But some of these have got a catch mechanism on them that if you squeeze them all the way in, you can get them to catch and hold in the open position, because they're a nightmare to get on there otherwise. So this one's already in its catch position, so I just need to get a screwdriver down in that hole and twist it to pop this little tab up, and then this will snap shut on the hose. Now, the water pump's all tightened up. Spec was 15 foot-pounds or 180 inch-pounds. So the bolts are all tight, the lower hose is on, and I went ahead and backfilled the block with antifreeze just to make sure that the O-ring on the back of the water pump has seated and is not leaking anywhere. I know that doesn't 100% prove it's not leaking, but at least it's a good start. So we'll put the thermostat in, and we'll put the new water neck on, along with the new bolts. Get those tightened up, and we'll get the fan back in there, and the pulley back on the water pump, and the belt back on, and then the upper hose, and get this thing refilled. Now everything is all back in. The fan clutch is back on, the belt's back on. There's the new thermostat outlet neck. Once again, I got that from Riff Raff Diesel. They're a pretty good source for 7.3 parts. This oil filter or fuel filter cap I also got from them, because the fuel filter in this truck was a Wix that has its own cap, and it's not the proper cap for the Motorcraft filter, so I got that replacement cap from them as well. But there it is, all back together. The different upper hose that goes around the belt, so you don't have to take the hose off to change your belt. Belt on this looks pretty good right now, so I don't have to worry about that. All you need to do is start it up and check for leaks. It is... Oh, sorry. It is pretty full on antifreeze. I will probably have to buy another gallon because I did lose a little bit. I did put what was in there back in just because I didn't have the $35,000 it takes to buy enough antifreeze to go into this, since all this was supposed to be was a thermostat change. But there's that. But on the bright side, I am kind of happy I changed the water pump. Hope you can hear that. Turn the fan on. I had the fan running. It's kind of warm out here tonight. It's got some noises in there. Sounds like maybe a bearing. So that makes it not quite so bad that I had to replace the water pump, since it was probably on its way out anyway. So that was the modified version of changing a thermostat and upper hose and water outlet neck on an F-250 that turned into a water pump job. Hope you enjoyed watching that. If anybody is doing that job, hopefully that might help them. I don't know what I could have done differently to get that bolt out. It seemed like it was coming, then it just snapped. So that's something to keep in mind if you're doing a thermostat on these, to be careful about those bolts, because I might have been able to get it out if I tinkered with it long enough, but it was probably quicker and easier just to change the water pump. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Any questions or comments are appreciated down below. Have a good evening.